Hi, I'm curtrcounts with EXP Realty. A little bit of background and history on myself. I was born in Richmond, Virginia as a Navy brat, and I was raised in New Jersey for just about my entire life thereafter. So basically when I graduated high school, I immediately went into the workforce, and I had started working in restaurants, nightclubs, nightlife, hospitality industry, you name it. Anything where there was a large amount of people and it was fast-paced and there was a service component to the job, I really enjoyed doing it. At around my 10-year, 12-year mark, I had started to get a little bit of burnout in the field. I was kind of getting tired of doing the same thing day in and day out, and there wasn't a lot of variety or change at that point. It was kind of all the same. So I had also realized that I was making the same amount of money that I had been 4 or 5 years previous, despite working just as hard. And it kind of set something off in my head that I was capped. And it was a good living. Don't get me wrong, I had more than enough to live on. Bills were paid, car was paid, rent was paid. There was no major issues, but I just wanted more. So I had started looking for an exit to get out of the business, and a friend of mine who I'd worked with at another bar was starting a real estate team. It was him, his brother, and a couple other acquaintances. And I did a little bit of calling around. I checked with a couple of the guys that were already on the team, and I said, yeah, I like this switch. They were also previous nightlife employees. So yeah, I like the change of pace. I like the job, and the money seems to be pretty decent, and you should try it out. So my first couple of years in the industry were not all that great, but I think a large component of that was me not understanding how the job was or how it was supposed to be worked, where I had looked at it more from a sales angle, and I don't think that's the right way to approach real estate. I think if you're looking for it to reward you and to be successful, you got to approach it from a service-oriented angle, because people are coming to you looking for a sales experience, but there's a service component that sometimes can be overlooked, and that's around the time, once this dawned on me, that's around the time I figured out this is the career for me. This is the job. I had redone my approach, probably my third or fourth year, I'd redone my approach and how to engage with clients. And instead of attempting to sell, I was attempting to educate and provide a service, and the job got easier. I started selling more houses. I started enjoying the work, and I was kind of hooked at that point. The first couple of years I wasn't too sure of myself, and I was always looking for another opportunity just to fall back on. But somewhere around that third or fourth year, when it clicked in my head, if you provide a good service to a family who comes to you with a need, the job will get easier and you'll be more successful at it. So that's when I made my mind up. Real estate is the job for me. So as we're shooting this is actually, I don't know how long this video is going to be around. These things are evergreen. But this is actually my 10-year anniversary of being licensed. I had first become actively licensed in January of 2013, where we're shooting this today. It was January of 2023. So here we are. Congrats to me for making it a full decade. Over the course of the last decade, my business has evolved. I'm no longer working strictly as a sales agent or a realtor. I do a bunch of other stuff as well. Obviously, content producing being one of them. Do a little bit of coaching here and there. I flip houses. I run a team, and of course, I also still have my real estate business where I do go out, take listings, and of course, I will work with the buyer on occasion, depending on who they are, of course. So as for career accomplishments, I think I've already surpassed a pretty big milestone that I had been working for quite some time, was getting to 500 lifetime transactions. I actually stopped keeping track some time ago, to be very honest with you. I'm not really a numbers or sales figure oriented type of salesperson. I care more about how much of my check I actually keep and how successful my business is doing based on the ROI. Numbers don't mean a lot if you're just kind of pedaling in mud, to be honest with you. So at around, I don't know, the 350 sale mark, I think it's a pretty good indicator that you know what you're doing and you understand how transactions work. And at that point, you are a font of information for your clientele. And that's what you should be used as. That's just my opinion. In addition to, obviously, the amount of transactions that I pulled off, I've hit a couple different sales milestones in two different brand brokerages. I did hit the RE/MAX Lifetime Award, which is typically awarded at sometime anywhere from your 15 to 25 year range for your standard agent. I wound up getting that in about 5 years. And my first year into EXP, my team and we hit icon status, which essentially translates to more than 100 transactions and over $40 million in sales. That was our first year in business at EXP. So my prior experience at my last brokerage, my last brand, was not entirely a bad one. I don't want to get on, like some of these sales recruitment videos that I've seen out here where they're ragging on a different brand or a different business. That wasn't really the case there. I just think there was, on a corporate level, the culture was something a little bit different than where I am now. And until I got here, I didn't really see it. At that point, I knew I had wanted to make a change. I had become stagnated in my career after about 8 years. Again, doing the same thing over and over again is something that, just helps me lose focus, to be honest with you. So we started the exploratory process of looking into buying a brokerage, looking for a franchise. And we had gone to one company, rhymes with Feller Filliams, and we had taken a look. We started the discovery process. We had talked to some people over there, and we looked at the numbers. And from the amount of investment that we would have to make in exchange for the years to recoup that, it had put us probably, I would say, somewhere between 5 and 10 years before we would hit probably the break-even point, which, if you ever made a gigantic financial investment, waiting 5 to 10 years for that to return, or at least even get to being equal, could be a little bit scary. So we had kind of discounted that one. We liked the idea initially of a profit share model, which is why when we did hear about the EXP model, that it's revenue based as opposed to profit. So the difference between the two, obviously, being revenue and profit, are entirely different words. Revenue is the amount of money brought in before expenses. Profit is obviously after expenses, which is a major determining factor that, yes, you can bring in an agent who will, or a brokerage that'll bring in $1 million in revenue, but if they're only making, I don't know, $50,000 a year in actual profit, that's what you're going to bonus off of. Now, we had also looked into going with an independent brokerage, starting our own. I'm a social person, and so is my girlfriend, and so are all my team members, and we didn't want to be put on an island by ourselves where there was nobody to reach out to, there was no higher up communication, there was no other guidance, there was no other leadership. We would essentially be on our own. Sure, of course, you could work entirely for yourself. All the profit would be ours to keep, but I don't think I would be doing a very good job of providing my agents with the amount of support that we could get from a large national brand. So my first impression of EXP, I'm going to be plainly honest with everybody watching this or hearing this, is it was not a very good first impression. Me and my girlfriend were on vacation, and we happened to walk by a broker's open in the middle of a weekday, and we saw the signs out there, so we walked in. And the person that was hosting this was, to say the least, incredibly pitchy, very pushy, and me and her could not get out of there quickly enough. And this was probably sometimes back in 2015, 2016, EXP being incredibly new to the the real estate landscape at that time. I had never even heard of it. And the guy that we had met, I thought it was specific to the part of the country that we were in when we happened to walk into this house. But I found out later they were national. So my first impression was not exactly a great one. So bad, in fact, that as I make these videos and as I do my recruitment, I am beyond conscious of not coming off as a car salesman here. And we're not trying to promise you the world. We're just trying to problem solve and see if that your business is going to be a match to EXP's business model, which I think anybody who wants to grow their business will kind of see the bottom line and make that connection for themselves. So I don't have to cram it down anybody's throat. I don't got to pitch you to death. I'm the type of person where even if I want something, if I feel like I'm being hard sold, I'm going to back off. And I do keep that in mind. And obviously switching your businesses and moving from brokerage or brand to brand is a big decision within the life of a business runner. So I take it very seriously. It shouldn't be somebody trying to get you to sign on the dotted line to get the the undercoat protection or the clear coat or whatever it is that they do at the car lots for the pressure sales. So the discovery process didn't come back up for us for a few years. It was around the time that we had started looking around to see if we were going to buy a franchise, if we were going to start our own brokerage. And a real estate coach at the time said, hey, why don't you take a look at EXP? And my immediate response was, oh, that's the recruiting company. And he kind of laughed and he said, yeah, they've got some pretty aggressive recruiters that work for them. The agent attraction is a big part of the business, if that's the route you wanted to go. But take a look at the numbers just as a real estate agent, as a team runner. Take a look at what your transaction totals, what your sales goals are, what your transactions look like, and see where you're spending money, what you're paying back to your brokerage, your team, and of course your corporation. And we started matching things up, and at that point, they very quickly were the number one candidate. They had already started seeping into New Jersey. They had started establishing a presence, and there was a team runner, a broker owner, a little bit further south than where I am, maybe about 15, 20 minutes down the road from my home. And it's a guy who was RE/MAX's number one solo agent the year prior. We had begun to hear whispers that there was going to be some migration where he was going to make this move over to EXP. So we had set up a meet, and yeah, lo and behold, the ball was in motion. He was already on his way out of the door of EXP. And I said, if this guy who's been running a very successful business, one of RE/MAX's number one agents in the state routinely year over year, if this guy trusts to basically pick up his business, the only brokerage he has ever known, and move it to this new company, there must be something here. Yeah, that kind of made the mind up for me. And of course, after looking at the numbers and verifying everything was where it needed to be, it was a clear-cut winner in regards to the amount of support I would receive and the amount of expenses that were coming out of our checks. Made my mind up for me. So once we made our mind up that EXP was going to be where we were going to set up shop and advance our careers and grow our business, we had started the transition process. To be very honest with you, onboarding was it was a breeze, and we had come over with a very large migration of RE/MAX agents that all moved. 3 brokerages in our local area decided to move at the exact same time. So as we were onboarding 300 other agents in New Jersey were also making that same transition. EXP handled it great. Excellent work. Big shout out to the corporate office for taking that in stride, putting an extra 300 people in your stateroom and adding them to your roster in the course of 2 weeks. Pretty stressful, but it went off without a hitch. All of our stuff was set up. EXP handled everything they needed to. Obviously, we signed the paperwork, our ICAs that we needed to, and then everything else was a breeze. There was around-the-clock support. We had access to the broker. We had access to his staff. We have access to all sorts of other things that made that move that much easier, and we didn't really skip a beat. They have set us back a week or two, just the incidentals and changing signs and all that other stuff, but other than that, the onboarding was a snap. So one of the first things that I realized when we got here was the difference in culture. And that may sound like a corporate buzzword, because it is. And a lot of corporate offices have people in place who are there to basically create a culture and champion it and cheerlead it. And I'm not speaking from a position of being the HR representative here. And it's not going to be one of these, hey, we're family here, or we have fun at work. It really is. There's a huge shift in my mind between where I was, where everybody is an independent contractor and they don't really have any vested interest in the overall brand success. They care about themselves, rightfully so. That's fine. Everybody's an independent contractor. They're the ones doing the actual work. The brand is just there for support. But what I've noticed when we made the switch is that there is this collective genius being shared by really high-level operators within the company. And it became clear to me a little bit after the fact, and I'm learning stuff about EXP and about the brand every day. I've been here for 2 years now, and I still learn stuff every day. It dawned on me, everybody is working toward the same end because we're all essentially in a stock share system where the agent actually owns a percentage of the brokerage via stocks, publicly traded. Case in point, for all the years I worked at RE/MAX, I was never given any kind of monetary reward, any kind of break or discount on anything, and that's fine. That was our agreement. And I hit the milestone of a RE/MAX Lifetime Achievement Award. And I got a piece of paper in the mail. No frame on it, no glass, no award, no phone call, nothing. That's fine. It's not really one who cares a lot about reward or awards to begin with. Upon coming into EXP, we had worked for our first year and we had hit the status of an icon team. And we were given the icon award, which for the team lead came with a $16,000 stock award. That's unheard of. And hopefully 10 years from now, that stock is worth a lot more than 16,000. So it kind of dawned on me like, oh, okay, this is why everybody is working toward this, because we have a vested interest in the ownership of the company. It's not like we're providing for a corporate office where we don't see them, we don't talk to them. We're actually benefiting ourselves by advancing our brand. So at this point in eXp's existence, I assume most agents who have been in the field for some time and their career started before the advent, or at least until eXp got into their marketplace, they're already aware of obviously the things that most agents are aware of about eXp. Yes, there is a very aggressive revenue share model to some of these businesses. There's the stock awards, there's all this other stuff that everybody talks about, but the things that are lesser known is the collaboration between groups and organizations. Case in point, and for example, we came in with an organization above us in our upline, referred to as the real estate leaders. I have access to everybody on that team and everybody in that management, where I could give these guys a call any time of day and ask them general questions. And these are successful business people who know a lot about real estate and a lot about running businesses. I never had that access at my previous. When I went to a convention for my former brokerage, getting to talk to somebody who is doing better than me was like pulling teeth. There was this air of exclusivity where what I'm doing I cannot share with you because you may somehow better yourself, or maybe that'll take away from my sales numbers, or maybe make me look less accomplished. But yeah, going back to like the collective genius thing I'd mentioned, everybody sharing this information to get everybody else's businesses is good for the long-term health of the company, which is in turn good for the long-term health of your business. Thank you so much for taking time to watch this video. Just wanted to give an introduction of myself. Maybe you hear some stuff in my story that'll resonate with you. Maybe there's some parallels in your business that'll help you make your decision. I didn't want this to sound like a sales pitch or anything like that. Just wanted to tell you my story and tell you about the decision that I made, and maybe what I find to be a benefit may be a benefit to you. I look forward to seeing you on the other videos. We can get to all the technical stuff later. Have a great day.